Chill
So
just
here we
shakes
go.
his magic F91 8-ball. Sorry about that. I'll introduce the players this game. So, yeah, we have Pretty Girl SY, or kOs, spawning in the bottom right, and F91 spawning at the top left. So already, F91's happy because he's as far away from the Terran as possible, especially if the Terran player is going for mech. It's really annoying to be cross-map, because mech is not finesseful in the way that Medic Marine is. You're not going to be splitting up your mech army and doing all sorts of sexy harass all over the place. Mech is good when you get a big clump and just do one big punch into the Zerg's base to try to win. Now, before we talk about the map or any of the options of what the players could be doing, I think it's sort of interesting to point out the psychological position that kOs is in. If you are in a series and you're down 0-3, it's very hard to stop and say to yourself, well, it's time to play really, really solid and do something standard. What's more typical in that scenario is for the player to think, man, I really just need to get a win. And only then, after having a win in the series, does the player become a little bit more comfortable and begin to be more confident in his own game and say, okay, now I can sort of calm down and do something a little more typical and play a little more stably. So I'm interested to see if kOs is able to resist that sort of psychological tendency to think to himself, man, I really just want to get a win. In fact, I question whether he planned 2-port Wraith on Harmony or whether he was just thinking, man, my mech build hasn't been working at all. Let me just try to do a 2-port Wraith easy win.
Yeah, I gotta agree exactly with that. And on the other side of things, when you get up 3-0, and if you can avoid the temptation to become cocky and a little overconfident, then you actually become that much stronger because you get more comfortable with your micro, especially very micro-intensive things like Mutilus micro. You start thinking like, yeah, hell yeah, I can move in there. Yeah, I can take out these SCVs. It's easy because it's worked so many times before. So F91 is going to be, you know, at the top of his game probably if he can avoid that temptation to get cocky. And kOs is not, as you just said, he's not feeling good by any stretch of the imagination.
There's little things to note, like if you go to kOs's main, there's nothing mining from the top right mineral patch. In fact, only now has the first SCV gone there. I think that's a sign of nervousness because almost always in the early game you're splitting all your SCVs perfectly early on, so that way they can definitely be maximizing that mining efficiency. But F91, or excuse me, kOs being a little shaky there, just leaving one mineral patch unmined. Fortunately, kOs does in fact resist that urge I was saying to play a little bit more all-in-ish, and is in fact going for the standard sort of early expand. He's getting his refinery now, so it looks like he's going to be sticking to that typical play we've been seeing. And F91, I really like the fact that he went hatch 12 and then made 2 drones. This is a map where I really like getting 2 additional drones, especially considering that F91 scouts so early. He can definitely spot those proxy racks and deal with it accordingly. But because, you know, your natural's tucked away off the side of your main, it's totally okay to throw in a few extra drones.
Yeah, for sure. And since F91 has actually made an appearance on Liquibition, I've started putting that style into my play as well. So F91, although he's very unorthodox and he's not someone you should be copying exactly, he does do a lot of things that are very right and a lot of things that players can learn quite a bit from. I like kOs playing way more standard here, only making that single marine. His wall-in is proper, and his gas is well-timed, and his factory is well-timed. So, looks like we're going to move into a standard game. F91 playing very safe, putting that sunken colony down. Now he should be moving into layer. There we go. And we're going to expect to see, I mean, 3 hatch mutas is what I've got to expect out of this. I mean, it's, as we say, it's hard to make predictions for F91, but any other sort of follow-up does not look as strong as Mutilus in this point.
Yeah, knowing F91, he's probably rushing for Hive to go mass Ultralisks as fast as possible, which would be Gosu times 2. I would love to see that. But, oh, now this is interesting. We see that in kOs's main he's getting an Academy. I'm interested to see if he's doing that. Well, now that he's added the second factory, it's almost clear that he's using that just for the scanning purposes. Going back to F91's main, it's important to note that F91 had to build that sunken colony fairly early, because all that he got to see with his scouting drone was a wall-off. He doesn't know if his opponent is going for a fast expand. He doesn't know, in particular, if he's going for a super fast vulture rush. And especially considering the way that the games have played out, I think it's very appropriate for his opponent to be vulture rushing early. But instead, kOs is going for the ultra powering style of getting 2 armories early for +1/+1 upgrades. So we're almost certainly going to see a bunch of tanks and Goliaths early, and then kOs moving out to take his 3rd gas, which is really crucial when you're doing a mech play on this map.
Yeah, and F91 in not the greatest of positions here, because on this map you can take your 3rd base with a 4th hatchery or even your 3rd hatchery fairly early. You can be fairly confident after drone scouting that wall and seeing 1 Marine that nothing is going to be following up, and take that early. But we see he's stuck on just his 2 bases. He can't even take his own 3rd base, his 2nd natural, because his vulture is up here just blocking anything. And the first scan goes off, so now he should be aware of kind of where he is in the game. And I expect we're going to see a much more competent follow-up. 2 Goliaths coming here. We should see Goliath range very shortly. And maybe we're going to have a game that lasts more than 10 minutes.
Dude, I would be so excited to get to the double digit of game time. Something we have not seen yet today. So right now we do have the engineering bay going down for F91, or let me try it again, for kOs, and it looks like it looks like kOs is more than prepared for F91's Mutalisks. Look at this, going 3 hatch, F91's Spire has just now finished, and it looks, oh, this is interesting. If you look at F91's natural, he's getting a den. That's something getting a den with lurkers. I'm not quite sure I agree with that. I generally strongly dislike lurkers, but against mech in particular, so I'm a little curious what's going to be going down here. And it's also really important to note that if you go to kOs's main, that he only just has 4 Goliaths with 2 more coming out. That is when he went straight for Goliath. So you're noticing that, in fact, it's kind of difficult to get a lot of Goliaths, especially if your opponent is going for some too fast, some 2-hatch Mutalisk builds. So that's definitely why we saw kOs have some trouble early on. But this game, he's totally prepared for these Mutalisks that are coming in right now.
Yeah, I think this lurker follow-up is very strange. F91 didn't use all his larva for Mutalisks, actually, right at the start. Now coming in harassing. Wow, Goliaths have range, thank God. So putting on a few hits on the Mutas. He's got 2 Scourge out there, just in case there was a Valkyrie follow-up, which of course there isn't. A Starport coming now. Wow, with only 2 factories going Starport. So this is going to be interesting to see if he wants to go straight for the science facility just so he can keep his upgrades going, or if he wants to get a science vessel out. I mean, both are options here. He's got 4 turrets at his natural, only 1 at the main, but quite a few Goliaths there, so he looks more than safe against kind of the standard mass Muta follow-up. But this Hydra follow-up, I mean, who knows? I haven't played against 9 Mutas into Lurker pretty much ever, and I've never done it myself, so a very strange style, but something very characteristic of F91.
Well, F91's really just abusing the basic sort of trick against a mech player. You open up by getting some Mutalisks, not too many Mutalisks, which is definitely something F91 did this game. Not too many Mutalisks, just enough to force your meching opponent to get too many Goliaths. After your opponent gets too many Goliaths, then you start getting Hydralisks. So your mech opponent has to get more tanks to deal with the Hydralisks. So, essentially, by just getting some Mutalisks, then going Hydralisks, you've hugely delayed the initial mech push. Now, if we think about the way kOs is playing, kOs is just going to be playing defensively and rushing for those upgrades, and what he's doing is he's getting gas really early and letting his gas build up, because when you're going mech, there does come a point where you end up getting more minerals than you need. So naturally, kOs is just going to build up gas early, so that way he will end up spending it all, and around the time he hits 0 gas is the time I would imagine would be key for him to be pushing out, probably around when he gets 2-2, but surprisingly I don't see 2-2 being researched yet.
Yeah, although I like the overall idea with kOs's build, there's a lot of mistakes he's made. I don't know why he's getting Vulture Mines before Siege. He's really susceptible to any sort of Hydra attack here. He rushed for that science facility, but he's got about 700 minerals and 1,000 gas. He's not getting +1/+1, or excuse me, +2/+2, not getting anything out of the starport. So a few mistakes here. We see he's putting down his command center, so he is really playing the ultimate slow mech build here. Now sending out an SUV probably to start building turrets at that expansion to secure it. Taking a look at the supplies, we've got kOs at 100, F91 at 100. Just a minute ago, F91 was at 75 and kOs was at 90. And I imagine as the game rolls on, because kOs is playing so passively, that disparity is going to get pretty big with F91 in the lead. If F91 realizes, okay, he's taking his third really slowly, he's delayed his factories, I'm just going to take the map. And if he does that, I think kOs is going to have a lot of problems. If F91 can't figure it out, then kOs's chances become a lot bigger.
Yeah, it's interesting because when your Terran opponent is going mech, the food disparity becomes less and less of a deal, because less and less of a big deal, excuse me. When you're going a medic marine, you want to keep a pretty substantial food count on your opponent, because if they get a whole bunch of defilers and lurkers and zerglings, they can just run you over. You want to keep those numbers as low as possible. With mech, on the other hand, all you're really concerned about is coming out with one really big, really scary push. And just like you said, F91 needs to start expanding a huge amount, because the counter to mech is not anything cute or clever, like, you know, lurkers with defilers. You just need to have a whole lot of stuff. And right now, F91's doing a pretty good job of going Mu to Hydra, but you'll note that as expansions, in particular at the one in the bottom left, there's just not that many drones mining. So I'm a little bit concerned that he's going to get overrun by some sort of massive push by kOs.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I don't know if he's scouted bottom right. I believe he has, because there's missing turrets there. So he's gotta know this is coming. Looks like he's moving in with a few mutas and about half his hydras. I don't know why the other half is sitting at his expansion, but okay. And kOs looks like he has more than enough units here, and with tanks with siege mode, he should be fine against this. So F91 really needs to get on his horse and start taking some other bases. kOs in the meanwhile has done a nice job of putting mines down and putting vultures at all the other expansions that F91 may want to take, and that's just great for delaying any sort of drone that goes up there to take an expansion. Here comes a lot of mutas into the natural. Only 4 turrets up here. One goes down almost instantly. They're all going to go down pretty quick. With a lot of Goliaths with the range upgrade, he should be able to deal with this, but they're coming up kind of piecemeal. They're oh, is that a drop sound I hear? Maybe not, but it would have been good if it was drop. I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, and there's just sort of a little traffic jam going on at the neck entrance of kOs's main. I don't think kOs is going to have too much trouble eventually killing this attack off. But what blows my mind is if you click on all the factories of kOs, vultures are being made. I don't know why. I mean, you need those Goliaths to continue pushing out. We see +2/+2 attack is almost finished for kOs, and kOs now fortunately is able to move all his Goliaths from his second base up to that expansion. And that's definitely something that's really key to note about mech, is that it's very, very immobile. So if you do these sort of massive mutalisk attacks, and oh my god, here comes the Hydralisks too, but there's so many tank siege. I just don't know if this is going to be able to kill this off, but there's so many mutalisks. That's the big problem, is that kOs made so many vultures at that brief period of time that he's behind on Goliath. So right now the Hydra is running in, but immediately having to run out because there's just an absurd number of tanks right here. And fortunately for kOs, he is able to get enough Goliaths to be able to fend these mutalisks off eventually. However, these mutalisks aren't going to leave before taking out a significant number of tanks.
Yeah, really strange that kOs favored the vulture so much, especially since he had so much gas. Really nice that he has 2-2 at this point. I mean, take a look at F91's upgrades. On Hydros he has 1 attack, and on the Mutas he has 1 carapace, so really behind in the upgrade game. And against mech, you know, mech deals so much damage that carapace upgrades aren't really that important, but the attack upgrade really is. Now the Muta's moving into the natural again. This natural is just all carved out. There's nothing remaining here. You could actually take out the command center. The Goliaths are having a lot of trouble coming around to get up here. I saw there is a science vessel out. I've got to imagine a radiate is done. Oh wow! The command center is going to get taken out. That's huge. That's going to delay this push so much. How did he let that happen? A big mistake by kOs.
Well, I mean, that's just really hard when you're going mech. You just have such a mobility issue. It's just exactly what you want to be doing as a Zerg player, just thinking, okay, where are all his units? I'm just going to attack, not there. And it doesn't really matter what your choice is. If you went into the main when, you know, Terran comes out to push, totally great option. He goes into the expansion, all these units are at the second base, totally good option. But even then, Chaos is still massing up, and he has 3-3 on the way. I'm interested to see if he's going to be pushing, but look at this, the Hydralisks come in, catch the tanks off guard. Now it's Hydras fighting Goliaths and tanks fighting Mutalisks. Those are just not the sort of battles you want to be facing. F91 could in fact be going 4-0 with Chaos in this series.
Wow, I don't see Chaos being able to defend this. He might be able to hold off for now, but he's lost so much that he's lost all his tanks. He lost every tank. And he looks like he's going in trying to take out the Goliaths now. Those Goliaths have amazing upgrades, as we said before. F91 now having 2 Carapace, dealing a ton of damage here. And without the tanks, I bet Chaos is just spamming Goliaths in every factory. So any sort of Hydralisk follow-up is really, really going to hurt. And he splits out Irradiated Mutalisk almost instantly. Chaos, I mean, what can he do at this point? He's got his natural broken, and now he's about to have his 3rd broken. Really, this says a lot to F91's play, because Chaos, he had no intention of moving out. All he was doing was sitting in his main defending, and he couldn't even do that against F91. So big credit to F91. He did a lot of things right this game. I mean, it's not over at this point, but it's definitely not looking good for Chaos.
Yeah, I mean, Chaos right now broke on gas, trying to retake that 2nd expansion, but it's going to be tough. Like you said, he has no tanks, and now he's flooding Vultures once again. Looks like 3-3 is going to be up just in time for Chaos to type out. I'm clicking back on F91's main and at all his expansions to see if there's any way that Chaos can come back in this game, and it's going to have to be if he gets a bunch of tanks, gets a big army, and ends up pushing out again. But look at this, Mutalisks are again harassing that 2nd expansion. Goliaths are going to have to take the big long wind-around road to get in. Meanwhile, F91's continuing to mass up Hydras, getting ready for a frontal assault.
Yeah, I mean, F91's play was not that uncharacteristic, but it definitely wasn't standard. Usually against mech, we see people taking 5, 6, 7 bases and looking to fight the army head-on. F91 didn't do that. He barely took a 4th base and barely even droned it. He just made a lot of stuff and just attacked at the right position, and Chaos really did not respond properly. So I really like to see, and I like seeing him in these show matches, because F91 is showing us that you don't have to play like a robot to take out these big name players.
Yeah, it's kind of funny though, because right now looking at the food, F91 is somehow behind on food. I would have been totally expecting him to be massively in the lead. And right now Chaos is getting a pretty substantial army, and he's almost 3-3. He's 3-2 right now. You know, it's also interesting that a lot of meching players are also really big on getting Valkyries early. We saw Fantasy all about that. And that's really helpful for defending expansions like this, because just the fact that F91 is attacking the 2nd expansion means that Chaos has to move his Goliaths all over the place along these really obnoxious paths and bottlenecks. And that's just such an abuse. And look at this Irradiate get... Wow, that was a beautiful Irradiate by Chaos, and again, a beautiful split by F91. F91 right now sitting 118 food, Chaos sitting at 120, but there's no tanks in this army. Still only 6 factories. I would have liked to have seen more, but again, it's kind of hard when you've been losing all your bases so much. And a Hive Tech is about halfway done for Chaos, or excuse me, for F91 at this point. And if we look at F91's money, he's sitting at 2k, 2k. Even though I generally don't like Ultralisks against mech, having that much money and gas is just a really easy spend to get a quick win. But look at this, big army moving out for Chaos. This is like the deciding moment of the game.
Yeah, this is surprising, and with this army in 3-3, Chaos may have a chance here. Looks like F91 was delaying for Hive, and Chaos's timing is good. He's moving out just before F91 getting any benefit from that Hive. I would have thought Chaos would think he's so far behind, he's got to go for the main. It looks like he was thinking that, now turning around, I don't know where he's going. Science Vessel taken out almost instantly. Hydralisk coming in, now they're going to flank from the top. Good concave on the Hydralisk, especially flanking in from the top. I mean, Chaos, this has got to be it. He's got to do some big damage here. He's got to kill this entire army. But the concave of the Hydralisk and the +2 attack is looking pretty good. Chaos getting turned around. I don't know. He may win this battle, but he's not going to have enough reinforcements. Looks like, in fact, he's not going to win the battle. He'll lose this battle. He'll lose the game. Wow. And that is going to be it.
Good
wow.
Game. A 4-0 victory for F91. Absolutely crushing Chaos in every regard. Against tricky play, against solid play. against any sort of aggressive or defensive play. F91 absolutely dominated. It wasn't even close. I'm kind of shocked right now.
Yeah, I'm shocked on both fronts that F91 played so solid, had the answer to everything, and I'm also shocked how poorly kOs played. I don't know, if he didn't practice for this or he hasn't played much. Something is up, but that definitely answers a lot of questions about kind of old pro gamers against top foreigners. No questions left in that regard. F91 cleaning up the ex-Korean pro in less than an hour, 4 games. Wow.
It's kind of funny, if you really think about it, a lot of with the exception of Game 3, I would say that kOs's big issue in all those games were his underlying fundamentals. Although he was really good about having these clever builds, like he had a really a good idea with the +1/+1 build on Colosseum, and he had a good idea with the Vulture Harass in the first 2 games. But the little things like making sure your timing was just right, and making sure that he was really on the money, making sure those upgrades were coming up, that's where he lacked. And as a result, F91 just abused him in half in those first 2 games, and completely manhandled his defensive play in the 4th game. The only time I would really say that he made a gross error was his the way he transitioned in the 3rd game. That is the only way that kOs really messed up in terms of decision making was in Game 3 when he decided to go 3 barracks after his 2-port Wraith when he should have been going factory. But I mean, I wonder, kOs is probably spending so much time just thinking at high levels and trying to coach his players. I wonder if he had the time to practice whether or not it would have been a little bit more of an even match.
I don't think it would have, to be honest. I don't know how much he practiced. I've gotta say, next to none. But those games were not very close, and I mean, I don't think very much more practice would have made it any closer than that. I don't really have much more to say than that. The only thing I want to say is that F91 is making a living playing these Team Liquid show matches now. He's taken out almost everyone in the foreigner scene who we've thrown at him, and now he's starting to peck at the Koreans. What do we do? Who's next for him? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
If any of you know any Korean pro gamer buddies, we'd love to kind of get the hookup and have a double encore of Liquibition number 31 to see who can in fact take down F91. I'm really interested to see what sort of players are solid enough to deal with his wide variety of styles and his excellent decision making throughout all the games.
Yeah, I got to agree. So I think that is actually, we said this last time, but this time is going to be it for Liquibition. The season is going to shut down on number 30. If you're looking for more kind of things to watch, live streams, check out, I don't know how to pronounce it, Modulus, I don't know. Check out that. There's a couple live streams people put up, and there's mogulus.com/teamliquid. Always has great nostalgic games up, so if you're looking to watch some games where other people are watching, you can talk about it, you can always check out those.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us today and for dealing with the delay. Yeah, that just about wraps it up for me. Do you have anything else to add here, Chill?
No, that's it for me too. Thanks for everyone for sticking around, and thank you for watching the cast today.